and welcome to another episode of I Want to Know, the show dedicated to our town, the community, the people working in the community, and today especially the volunteers that help everything work. And we're doing it via Zoom because of COVID still. And I'm honored today to be joined by Carol Ferrucci, who has an organization that helps with dog rescues and helps find owners' dogs in all different types of conditions throughout the state. It's a fascinating story. So I'd like to welcome you, Carol. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Dan. Thank you for having us on.
The name of the organization is?
Connecticut Doggone Recovery Volunteers.
Okay, great. And you are statewide, correct?
We are.
All right. You're located, where do you live?
I personally live in Meriden, but we have volunteers that are leads on searches basically throughout the state.
Okay. And how many volunteers? Well, I don't want to get ahead. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, or the dog in this case. Where did you grow up?
The organization?
Where did you grow up, and where did you go to school, and then how did you get interested in this type of thing? What is your background?
Okay, my background's in a totally another field. It's in human services. When I started to retire, I started thinking about things I could do post-retirement, but I've always had my hand in the field of working with dogs, and also with being outdoors and doing a lot of outdoor work, whether it be orienteering, hiking, whatever. I was always out there. So I thought, what a great combination of helping people to find their lost pets. So it was kind of like a post-work thing I started getting involved in when I started to think about retirement. And
something that will keep you active, engaged in the community, and help people.
Exactly. And it seemed like a fun thing to do and a really great feel-good thing to do, and it is. So here I am 9 years later. 9 years. Yeah. Do you remember your first case or the early days 9 years ago? I do. I'd taken a course with a woman by the name of Kat Ulbrich, and she's a person that pioneered a lot of the basic best practices that are used in lost dog recovery. And the course was, I think, 12 weeks when I took it. And I was working with a group that also knew about her. So they had taken me in, and we were working together on some just basic skill sets. And so one day there was this lost dog out in Wallingford, and I got called by this person. They asked me to help them, and I said, yes, I would. And I took on the case of finding Pluto, who was a lost German Shepherd. And sure enough, we got it by putting posters up. We knew the woods the dog was staying in, and I set up a trap, and we caught the dog. It was my very first find. Wow.
And what did you put in the trap? And was the trap like a trap that they would catch, what was the trap at that point? Was it a cage that you put peanut butter in, or how did you manage?
That's a good question. So it's a box, and I had to turn this off. I thought it was. It's a box, and it's a have-a-heart trap. So it has a trip plate inside. The dog steps on it, and the door shuts. And so what I did is I carried this out to the woods, and I put it in an area, and I covered the bottom of the trap with leaves from the woods. So the dog, when it stepped on the bottom of the trap, it couldn't feel the wire underneath its paws. And I ran it all the way up to the trip plate. And behind the trip plate is where I put some food for the dog. And I think I had in there chicken and hot dogs and liquid smoke behind.
Well, I'll tell you what, if it's anything like my dog right here, it doesn't matter what kind of food it is.
Exactly.
Go for it.
I got a couple of those too. And I had a trail of food leading into the trap. And we got the dog. Pluto went right into the trap. We were pleased as anything.
Mm-hmm. Right. And how did you know that the dog entered the trap back then? I mean, you didn't have the technology that we do today.
We did not. When I first started this out, I mean, what we would have to do is, so in this case here, we used visual observation. And the trap was in the woods, but it wasn't too far from where there was clearing from the person's backyard. So it was the time of year we were able to look into the woods or shine a flashlight later on to see if the dog was in or not, or listen for the sound. And what we did is that the dog went in during daylight, and we were able to spot it right in the trap because we were checking it like every half hour or so from a window to see if the dog had gone in or not. We could tell the dog was circling around in an area because we could see mud tracks, mud prints in the mud. Okay. And it was definitely this dog's tracks all around the area, circling in this large amount of woods, but not coming back to the house and not coming to the owner.
Right. When somebody contacts you and says, my dog, he left the house, I'm freaking out, a person's upset. What are the first things that you would tell a pet owner to do?
So I'll talk to them at first to find out more about the situation.
Try and get them to calm down, I would imagine.
Yes, I mean, it's one of the worst things people will tell you over and over again that they've gone through is losing their pet. I hear that so often, and I truly believe that. So when you're talking to the person, depending on what they tell me about the dog, I'm going to tell them quickly what to do. And oftentimes I'm asking, did they do already a quick search of the area? Is the dog around? And what kind of dog are we dealing with? Are we dealing with a friendly dog that just kind of wandered off and maybe went to the neighbor's yard or down the road? Are we dealing with a dog that just came from a rescue and is very frightened and scared? Are we dealing with an elderly dog that maybe is a bit confused at times, has hip issues, difficulty walking? And so based on what people tell me is kind of like where I lead the search in what directions, gathering information about the dog. So if you have like an elderly dog that can't really travel that far, I'm going to have the people going out and doing a quick search. Like this time of year, it's so cold. It's dangerous for a dog.
Right.
And did they get stuck somewhere? And they can get stuck in anything when they're confused. It could be brush. They can't figure out how to get out of there. Or it could be a steep embankment. They can't get back up. So doing that quick search, and we'll send volunteers out immediately to assist with the search, because our basic hope is that the dog is somewhere in the area. We also make contact with animal control just in case someone picked up the dog and they called it in or they saw it. That's a great resource too. And the animal control should be contacted each and every time. Mm-hmm. So that would be something like with an elderly dog. If we have a dog that is your friendly dog that probably wandered off and likes to wander off once in a while, then I'm probably going to tell them not only to do their quick search, but let's get an order in. I call it a setup. We set up posters, flyers, and handouts for people. Posters are these big 11 by 17 signs we put up on telephone poles at stop signs and traffic lights. We have them face the direction that cars are coming from to alert the whole area. And we'll go out anywhere from, depending on what the situation is, we've gone as far as 5 mile radius out on a dog just to notify people. I usually start with 2 or 3 to begin with and branch out from there.
May I interject? And when I'm walking my dog and I see somebody lost their dog and they have it on a piece of notepaper on a telephone pole. Well, when people are driving by at 45 miles per hour, the last thing they see is that.
Exactly.
That and then plus it stays up for 6 months until the weather just takes it down. So what you're saying is a much bigger targeted posting and a much larger posting so people actually see it.
Actually, we designed them even a little bit more than that. We have lost dog at the top, then a large picture of the dog, and then your phone number, and that's it. We don't have 1,000 words on that flyer because people from their cars can't see it, nor are they going to get out. Exactly. Right. So we make them very simple, and we make them on a thick, at least a 67-pound stock paper. There's a company we're working with right now that's doing 100-pound stock for us. And behind it, we put neon poster board, really bright neon poster board. So we attached this 11 by 17 onto a bright neon. And then we staple gun them up to the telephone pole so that bright poster board, neon poster board, draws a driver's eye right to it.
Sure.
And of course, afterwards, we have to take them all down once we find a dog. But that's the best part.
Right, that is the best part. And it's good for drivers to be aware that there may be a lost pet around because it could be in the road.
Yes, very often.
And so you'll kind of get the owner to calm down. I'm just trying to walk through it in my head, my worst case scenario, of course, and then you get a picture of the dog out. You probably have it on social media, Facebook, I would think, correct?
Yeah, we do social media, Facebook. We do a couple apps. We do nextdoor.com, and we do Neighbors, which is a Ring app because we find a lot of dogs on security cameras.
Oh, super cool. Okay.
Yeah. So those two apps, you have to live in the area to do them. So we have the homeowner download them and then post up their flyer. Wow. So that sends out another type of notification.
Wow.
And then the flyers that we have, that's the stuff we use for social media. We put that in the back of the car window, so when you're driving around, you're like a moving billboard.
Wow, that's great too.
Yep, we'll get them up at gas stations, stores, all in the area with this foot traffic. And for trails, we'll put them inside a gallon-sized plastic baggie with the opening on the bottom. So trailheads, as hikers are going up, they might see the poster.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And actually, if we get to tell the story of Pearl later on, that's how we got our first sightings. But whenever you want. But that's how we got them.
Great, go right into it. Then we can work our way back to what the process, because every situation is completely different. Somebody could be bordering a woods, or they could be bordering a busy roadway. So everybody's advice will be different.
It changes a little. Yep, accordingly as to what's going on, because you're looking at the three things that are helpful in finding a dog are the behavior of the dog. The three factors that are that play a role in how well you find them: the behavior of the dog, the behavior of the owner, and the behavior of the finder. So one of our first steps is to promote awareness, to get the word out there, so we can get the dog, people to call us.
Mm-hmm.
So in the case of Pearl was black lab mixed, and she came from Lucky Dog Refuge from Stanford, and she was going to a foster to adopt home in Woodbridge. So she came up. She drove all the way up from Stanford to Woodbridge. The owners had her with a little sweater on a couple weeks ago, and it's freezing cold around here, like it is now.
Yeah.
And they had a leash on the dog and a harness, all the things you're supposed to do. And they brought the dog into their backyard, which is fenced in, so the dog could relieve itself, figuring, hey, the dog is on a drive, let's let the dog relieve itself. They put the leash down, which they didn't know. They put it down, and the dog immediately ran to the edge of the fence. There's a small opening underneath, and it went underneath the fence, much to their horror.
Unbelievable.
Oh, I couldn't imagine what that was like, because you think you're doing everything right, and then the dog escapes. So the dog ran across the road and went up into a 700-acre preserve. Thick brush, lots of trees. They called the people from Lucky Dog. Lucky Dog called me, and we immediately sprang into action. So I took down the information. Pearl was an extremely skittish dog. She was 29 pounds. She was wearing her sweater, and what should they do? So I made the setup for him, which is the poster, the flyer, and the handout, which I talked about briefly.
Sure.
Poster, anyways. And then what we did is I said, look, we're going to have to wait for those to get printed for us. So we should do a quick search up the whole mountainside to see if she got tangled in the brush over there, because there's some pretty heavy brush, as well as everything else. We gathered up 7 volunteers, and that whole hillside was scoured. No Pearl.
Oh.
I know it. And so we were all very, very worried. Sweet dog, very concerned. Everyone was involved, including the foster people, in helping to find Pearl. So then what happened is we got the posters. I said, all right, let's get them all up around the woods on the roads that pop, the roads that pop out around the woods. And let's get those flyers up on the trailheads so that the hikers, if Pearl's in the woods and the hikers see her, they'll call us. We did all that. We had a great group of people out there scrambling to get everything done. We didn't hear anything all that night. The next morning at 7 in the morning, we got a call that a jogger had spotted Pearl, and he had the wherewithal to say, on the white trail at marker 33.
Wow.
I mean, if he said the white trail, we would have had miles. But he even knew what marker to go at.
Wow.
And he saw her. It was awesome. And he saw off on a trail where he had noticed her. So what we did is we all got together. I grabbed a trap. I said, okay, let's go up there. Let's go up to the trail. And we used a phone so that we could bushwhack our way into that spot. So we carried the trap and all our gear, which was our bait, our cameras, my liquid smoke, my bacon grease, all the equipment you would need to put up there to set up a trap. And for us, by taking that shortcut, we went 0.7 miles into the woods. We found our spot. We set up our trap. And it was right near the white trail because that's where the dog was seen running on. And I laid a liquid smoke and bacon trail from the white trail up to the trap. And we put a huge scent cone at the top so the dog could pick it up and smell it. So it started getting dark. And just as it got dark, we got a call that she was spotted again on the white trail, but about a mile away, down further on the trail.
Going the wrong way, silly.
But I still had hope because I said to them, look, she's using the path of least resistance, it seems like. So I'm sure she's going to cross our scent cone at some point, and I'm hoping she goes up to our cameras, our trap. I went home, and we had a Zoom class that night at 7 o'clock where we do the Zoom class every 2 months. We start training new volunteers for our organization, and we do a 6-week class, and then we have them out in the field with us leads. I'm on the thing with the students, and my phone starts going off, and I'm looking at it, and there's Pearl heading towards the trap. So Patty, who was running the Zoom class, we all flipped it on so all the volunteers could watch the students.
Nice.
As the capture was about to occur. And we're watching Pearl follow my scent trail all the way up and go right into the trap. It was just awesome. It was a great moment. Oh,
awesome.
It was. I got pictures of that, by the way, sent to you of the Pearl.
Hopefully, let's see. Hopefully, Ryan and Rob can upload that, and we'll share it with all of our viewers for sure.
All right, sure. And I can explain a few if anybody needs that. So then we got the dog in the trap, and I had an extraction team ready. I had them ready for 2 reasons. We had to go out there if any critters went into the trap to release them, and if we got Pearl, we absolutely had to be out there too. So we were able to assemble a team as I was on my way over because it was a 35-minute drive for me to go back. And the team started making their way up to the trap by the time I got there. And what I did is I waited at the base, the trailhead with my SUV, so we could load up the trap and bring it back to the house and safely take Pearl out of the trap in her cage, in the cage while we were in an enclosed setting. It was great, though. The whole team came out. It was an awesome teamwork between the Fosters, Lucky Dog Rescue, and our group. We all worked together basically around the clock for those 2 days.
Wow.
Well, we got Pearl.
And I'm sure they got a deeper fence, too.
It's the bottom. It was the bottom they had to, fix on that. It's amazing the small holes dogs can get through sometimes.
Okay, how many volunteers do you have?
We have, that's a good question. We have 18 people who are leads like myself. Okay. And then in volunteers, I think we have 36.
36, right, and they're like around the region, but you're not including all the people that they engage with. Like if somebody down the street had the situation, then I can knock on my neighbor's door and say, look, we need some help. You potentially have a whole community.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So why don't you briefly talk about the technology that you've implemented over the past decade? You know, you were mentioning cameras. You could watch the dog walk into the trap and hang out and eat its bacon, and kind of, you know, wait for its homecoming. But what other technology have you implemented?
We have a variety. We basically have everything there is available right now, and we're very hooked into international groups to know of the latest gear, the latest trapping mechanisms, and we stay on top of that. And we have designers where we work and we create and we build. So what we have on hand right now is we have a drone, which has thermal imaging. And it actually has 3 different lenses on it, thermal imaging, something called MSX, which is a combination in between visible, which is what you would see with your normal eye, and with infrared. And what it does is it picks up heat signatures, it outlines them for you to help you better understand what it is that's out there. So the drone, for example, I've used it on a dog recently, another dog story, Ollie, where the dog was running in woods. We had tracks on a dog in snow, and it ran into woods where we had some concerns about going in because it was really fresh snow and we were afraid it was on thin ice. Uh-huh. And none of us wanted to step on thin ice. So what I did is I ran the drone over the whole area to see if I could see the dog down below. And I was happy to see that the dog was out of that area. And actually we found it in another area later on. So we have our drone to use, which can help us clear areas or check areas like marshes or thick brush. Sometimes you can see if they're stuck along the side of them. Though it's difficult to see down in thick brush, you can see off to the side. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of ways to work with the drone, and I've found it very useful. We have a couple of different trapping mechanisms for those dogs that are trap savvy, difficult to trap. They've been trapped before. Dogs that have been trapped before might go to my box trap and say, that's a trap. I'm not going in. And no matter what we do, it just won't go into that trap. So we created a kennel trap, and the kennel trap is much wider and much bigger. It's like walking into a little garden room, if you will. It's 4 feet wide by 8 feet long.
And it involves probably 4 people to carry it, though.
It's like the one I use. I've actually set them up myself.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to build it on site. That's what you have to do with that. And then I created a half measurement of that. So I have one that's not 8 feet long, but 4 feet long. And those things we find a lot of dogs go in. We get most dogs to go into that. Even the ones that are hesitant, what we're able to do is condition them to that trap. And what we do by that is we remove the front, which is where the door is on. And the dog walks in and it's wide open. Nice. And we let it we get it feeding in there and feeling comfortable in there. And once that happens, we start setting the door back up and then trap them.
If he's anything like my dog, he'll just lay down right there.
Mine are very used to that too. I have large dogs, 120 and 105 pounds. So I would use probably a kennel trap on them. I got them used to it.
Wow. Yeah. What about other services you offer in the community or you're involved with?
Well, we have a few programs. We have a community services program. This is where students who need to do some volunteer work for school, they can contact us and we will, I'll interview them to see what their interests are. And then we'll set up projects if we can. I have a student right now. Her name is Sophia, and Sophia is from Cheshire. And she has built us one ray tripper. And after she built the model, she said to me, I think I could see a way to design this better. And I said to her, how's that? She explained something to me, and I was very impressed. Now, this is a high school student. Uh-huh. And now she's in the process of making a second ray tripper for us, which I probably should explain to you what that is. How I mentioned in traps, there's the trip plates that people use in the dog, not people, but dogs step on to make the door shut. Well, a ray tripper is a sensor and a reflector that's set inside the back of a trap. And when the dog walks in, it breaks the beam of light between the two, and it shuts the door. So it's another way.
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you can set it a little higher up so that you can avoid things like raccoons and opossum setting off the trap, or you hope they will. Though sometimes raccoons will stand on their hind legs and look at it to wonder what it is, and then they trip it.
Right. Okay.
But, it works pretty well. And so Sophia's is making some of those ray trippers for us. We have a drop net, which is another. So we're talking about community service projects. The other thing we're doing is we're providing food to food pantries. So
for people to be able to feed their pets as well.
Yes, people that are in need. So we get some shelters that are always asking for food, or we get places that donate food to people that are in their programs. And so we work with them, and we do this with our parent company, which is Dog Star Rescue. We're one of their divisions, and the both of us usually go in on that, and we deliver bags and bags of food.
Well, this half an hour flew. I would like to say on behalf of the community and pet owners, thank you very much for the services that you offer. Hopefully we never need to use them, but it's good to know that you're there. You're a good insurance policy. If people are interested in your organization, how can they contact you?
If you go to our website, ctdgrv.org, you can fill out a volunteer form if you're interested in volunteering with us. Or if you have a lost dog, that's another way to reach out to us, and there's a lost dog form on that site. Okay,
wonderful. Thank you very much, and it was a real pleasure meeting you. Thank you for your time.
You too, Dan.
And, let's do this again, hopefully in person.
Oh, I'd love to do that. And I can't believe how quick this time flew by.
But it's fun, and it's engaging, and that's why it goes quick. But we'll do a show in person when we can.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this episode of I Want to Know. Until we meet again, be well, be safe, wear a mask. Thank you.
Yeah.